Dune takes place on the fictional planet of Arrakis, but in the real star system of Canopus. Frank Herbert chose to set his story in the real galaxy because he believed in something. There is a fifth force, which shaped religious belief, but its effect is so universal and profound that it deserves to stand alone. It deserves to be written thus: space travel. He believed that space travel would change humanity fundamentally, but he also wrote that the first space experiences were a wild inducement to mystical speculation. So let's demystify it. With real 3D locations of stars in space, a little bit of stellar astronomy, and some of the extended lore of Dune. And at the end, we'll take a look at some depictions of folded space travel in media and a bonus original depiction of travel through a Guild Highliner. There was no AI used in the making of this video. Dune takes place about 21,000 years into the future. 10191 AG, after Guild. Dune's calendar starts when the Spacing Guild was established, around 11,000 current era on our calendar. The spice melange was discovered on Arrakis at some point between 1000 to 200 BG, and the space folding drive was invented in 175 BG. The space folding drive, sometimes referred to as the Holtzman drive, revolutionized space travel in the Imperium. But it cannot be safely used without computers or spice. And since computers are illegal, looks like it's drugs. Before spice, when using the drive, 1 in 10 ships would be lost when making a jump. But when spice is consumed in vast quantities, it mutates guild navigators, giving them a limited sense of the future, which allows them to plot a course safely. The Holtzman effect, by the way, is the fictional scientific theory related to the repellent force of subatomic particles, which is the root technology in Dune behind shields, suspensors, and the space folding drive that the Guild Highliners use. Early space travel was described as unregulated, slow, uncertain, and accomplished by a hodgepodge of methods, later referred to as outracing photons. And it means that early space travel and colonization was mostly near Earth until much later in the series. There are spoilers from the first Dune novel, and minor ones from the extended universe. Old Earth, as of the time of the first novel, does exist, but is not a central location in Dune. 4.25 light-years away, Alpha Centauri is a triple system consisting of 2 sun-like stars and a red dwarf. If you ever hear Alpha Centauri as being quoted as either 4.35 or 4.25 light-years away, it's because Proxima Centauri is 0.2 light-years closer, which is significant for us non-FTL travelers. Logi and Ekaz are the 3rd and 4th planets orbiting Alpha Centauri b. The Mentat Thufir Hawat was born on Logi, and the planet Ekaz became known as the Sculptor's Paradise because it was the source of fogwood, which is a wood that could be shaped solely by human thought. 16.7 light-years away, Rima is the 4th planet of Altair. It's rich in dilobite, and the local Blue Hill speech was influential in the development of the Fremen language. The planet of Sikun orbits 70 Ophiuchi A, 16.6 light-years away, and is the native home to the Arkazo plant, the Buddhist-Islamic Christian Church, and probably House Sikunri. This brings us to the first major location of Dune. Just under 20 light-years away, 36 Ophiuchi is the location of Gedi Prime, the homeworld of House Harkonnen. Gedi Prime is described as a polluted, oppressive, industrialized wasteland due to Harkonnen's rule, reflecting their evil nature. Evil's not the right word, but
They're brutal!
36 Ophiuchi is kind of unusual because it's a rather rare triple system of orange-type stars where the A and B stars are nearly identical and the 3rd star is also pretty similar, only a bit smaller. Gedi Prime is the 3rd planet around Ophiuchi b. In case you were unaware, stars are labeled A, B, C in order of their influence on the star system. Delta Pavonis is also just under 20 light-years away and is the location of the planet Caladan, the homeworld to House Atreides. Until, of course, they changed their fief from Caladan to Arrakis, which didn't go so well. Caladan is described as a lush, oceanic world and is known for its pundi rice. Also in this star system is planet Harmonthep, which was a swampy world that for a while was a home to a subgroup of the Zensunni Wanderers. The Zensunni Wanderers are the ancestors of the Fremen. The Fremen's history is tragic. They were known as Wanderers because they were forced to migrate from planet to planet by interstellar power players. Later in the video, we'll take a look at the path that the Zensunni may have taken. Although Harmonthep was actually eventually mysteriously destroyed, like Death Star style, by unknown causes, after the Zensunni left. Corrine is a planet near the star Sigma Draconis, which is named after the Battle of Corrine, which is the battle that won House Carino control of the Imperium and established the line of Padisha emperors, the current ruling house of the Imperium as of the time of the first Dune novel. House Carino got its name from this battle. After the battle, Bashar Abelard Harkonnen was accused of cowardice by an Atreides and exiled. This event started the feud between House Harkonnen and House Atreides, which would last for almost 10,000 years. That's how you hold a grudge. Ishkal is the fourth planet orbiting Sigma Draconis and is another planet on the path of the Zensunni Wanderers. It's believed that the word Shai Halud, the name the Fremen use for sandworms, originated on this planet. Phytes is the second planet of the red dwarf Luton star. The dramatist laureate Hark al-Harba died here in 10317 AG. Nothing else is known of this planet. Riches, Jesus, it could be anything, man. I'm gonna go with Richizi. Richizi is the fourth planet around 40 Eridani A, 16.5 light years away, and Ix is the ninth. Although this is according to the expanded Dune universe. In the original Dune universe and the Dune Encyclopedia, they put it at the Alcalurop system, which we'll get to in a minute. Richizi and Ix are both notable because they still make machines which are illegal. In the Dune universe, all thinking machines have been outlawed since the Butlerian Jihad, which was the war that humanity fought against AI from 201 to 108 BG, which resulted in the maxim, man may not be replaced. This is why mentats, essentially human computers, are a thing, and why several groups have pursued genetic manipulation for psychic powers like the Bene Gesserit, and really just sets the whole stage for all of the Dune universe. 40 Eridani shows up a lot in other sci-fi, most famously being the location of Vulcan from Star Trek. It's a triple system consisting of a red dwarf and a binary pair of an orange-type star and a white dwarf, which is the first white dwarf that was ever discovered. The Spacing Guild would park decommissioned Highliners in cold orbits around planetless stars. One known Highliner graveyard is the star Eta Ophiuchi, 88 light-years away in the direction of the galactic core. Nearby, Poratrin is the third planet of the star system Epsilon Ophiuchi, a red giant star. Poratrin is another important location in Dune lore, and it was inhabited long before the Spacing Guild was a thing. And many Fremen believe that this was their world of origin, but it wasn't. We'll come back to this. Rossack is the fifth planet of HD 95424.
7346732147.
It's another stop of the Zensunni Wanderer migration and where the Reverend Mothers from Fremen culture first originated. When Paul's mother, Jessica, transformed the water of life on Arrakis, she unlocked genetic memories and had a vision of Zensunni women taking awareness spectrum narcotics for the first time here on Rossack. Norma Senva, the inventor of the space-folding FTL drive, was born on Rossack. 123 light-years away, Alcalurops, also known as Mu Boötis, is, in the extended universe at least, the location of Ix. Its original name is not known. It became known as Ix from a misinterpretation of the Roman numeral for 9 because it's the 9th planet. Theo Holtzman, the inventor of the Holtzman effect, was born on Ix. Side note, Theo means uncle in Spanish, but it's implied that the Ixians are descended from an Asian culture on Earth, probably the Chinese, so I'm not quite sure what's up with that. I mean, it's not a long stretch of the imagination to think that maybe 20,000 years in the future the cultures may have merged, just a little bit. Grumman and Gamont are the second and third planet of the system Niushi, which is the Chinese name for Psi Draconis. Grumman is the ancestral home of House Moritani, and Gamont is a planet noted for its hedonistic culture and exotic sexual practices, kind of like a dystopian version of Ryza. Salusa Secundus is another central location of the Dune universe. It is the third planet of the star Gamma Weiping, which is Chinese for the constellation Pisces, which I am probably not pronouncing correctly, please don't cancel me. But in modern nomenclature, it would be called the star Gamma Piscium, 138 light-years away. Gamma Piscium is one of the few stars on this list that have a known exoplanet, a real planet. I should mention that while these stars are real, none of the planets are. We've only just begun to detect exoplanets around stars in the past few years, and in 2021, a gas giant was detected orbiting Gamma Piscium via the radial velocity method, which is a method that is only able to be used on planets with a huge mass that affects the orbit of its parent star. But there are probably planets around all of these stars, we just haven't been able to detect them yet. Originally, Salusa Secundus was the homeworld of House Carino, but then became a prison planet when House Carino rose to the Imperial throne. They probably left because it's not a nice place to live. the conditions on Salusa Secundus are bad, with wild beasts, extreme temperatures, and difficult terrain.
The scariest environment imaginable. Thanks. That's all you gotta say. Scariest environment imaginable.
So harsh that it forged some of the greatest warriors in the Imperium, the Sardaukar, and made them awesome at throat singing. It's so harsh that half of Sardaukar children don't survive past the age of 11. And if they do, they're instilled with a religious zeal that makes them unshakably loyal to the house they serve. But Salusa Secundus is also where the Fremen's ancestors, the Zensunni Wanderers, spent hundreds of years, and it's partly attributable to why the Fremen are considered the greatest warriors in the Imperium. They survived and were tempered by Salusa Secundus, Arrakis, and like all of the harshest places in the universe. Of course, there's more to it than just that. They were also heavily influenced by the powers of the Imperium, like the Bene Gesserit. In fact, the people of the Imperium are often influenced by external forces. If they only had a way to see the story behind the story. They could if they had the sponsor of this video, Ground News. This website and app, founded by a former NASA engineer, gathers related articles from across the world in one place and provides context about each source's political leaning, reliability, and ownership so that we can get a better picture of where our news is coming from. If you're a space nerd like me, you know that SpaceX was expecting an explosion, and that doesn't mean that it was a failure. And on Ground News, I can instantly see that more than 300 articles are covering this and compare their coverage. In this article, 29% of sources lean left and 23% lean right. So I can see which headlines are blowing things out of proportion, sources with completely inaccurate headlines like SpaceX Starship launch failed minutes after reaching space, or ones who get it, like the Scientific American, and emphasize it, was an explosive milestone. I follow NASA, Space News, and Offbeat. Surprise. Reading the news can be a lot of work, and this honestly just makes it easier to find out who's behind what their biases are, and come to your own understanding of events in and out of our world. I do believe in what they're doing, not just because they're sponsoring this episode. Check it out through my link and get 40% off their Vantage plan at ground.news/overview, or you can try it for less than $1 this month. As I mentioned, the original homeworld of House Carino was Salusa Secundus, but they moved to Kaitain, in the star system Alpha Piscium, 151 light-years away. And since House Carino is the house that rules the Imperium, the capital of the Imperium became Kaitain. And this is where the Padisha Emperor lives and rules from the Golden Lion throne. Talailax is the home to the Beni Talailax, also known as the Talailaxu, which were a race of altered, highly religious humans who were despised in the Imperium but considered a necessity due to their skill with the genetic manipulation. They created the Twisted Mentats, which sounds like a flavor of candy, but is actually a breed of Mentat with different skills beyond just computation, like no moral compass. Piter de Vries, the Harkonnen Mentat, is a Twisted Mentat. Bela Tejas is 232 light-years away at the triple system of Iota Leporis. It's mentioned offhand a lot in the first book referencing their culture, and was another stop of the Zensunni during their wandering, and it was later conquered by the honored Matres. Iota Leporis may be a triple star. Most stars tend to form binary pairs and have a third wheel orbiting them, but some form a physical triple pair where they all orbit the center of mass of the whole system. This star system is probably the former, after reading like 3 astronomical white papers. Gioia is located 134 light-years away at the Beta Tauri system, also known as Elnath. Alberto Ginzatera, the forefather of House Ginaz, was born on Gioia. Hagal and Shandor are the second and third planet of Theta Shaowei, better known as Theta Leonis, 165 light-years away. Hagal is known as the Jewel Planet and is rich in Sioux stones and fire opals, although the planet was completely mined out by the time of the first Dune novel. The Emperor's throne is made of a single piece of translucent blue-green Hagal quartz. Not much is known of Shandor apart from the fact that it was the scene of a rebellion in 13664 AG. Ischia is the second planet of the star, which in the Dune universe is known as Beta Tigri. In real life, it's likely the star Beta Linsis, although some have suggested it's in the Cygnus constellation, perhaps 52 Cygni, which would make it a prettier star. Ischia is a planet controlled by House Carino but has been left alone, unutilized since its discovery. And once again, Ischia is another location of the Zensunni migration. It was the opposite of Rossack, hot, arid, and oppressing with heat as Rossack did with cold. Chesuk is the fourth planet of the Theta Arietis star system, 429 light-years away. It is known as the Music Planet. Named in honor of a great composer, Emi Shasuk, it was the home of the famous baliset maker, Varota, who was like the equivalent of Stradivarius, which Gurney Halleck was known for playing. He said he had never played a better one. And finally, Canopus. Canopus is a unique star in our neighborhood. It's a white star, the second brightest star in the night sky after Sirius, but Sirius is only 8.6 light years away. Canopus is 310. It's 10,000 times brighter than the sun and 71 times as big. It's staggering. As such, yeah, Arrakis will be hot, but like blasted to a crisp hot, unlikely to have developed any life, though it could have been seeded with life, so it's possible. Arrakis is the third planet in the system, and it has 2 moons, Krellin and Arvon. The Zensunni Wanderers, as I've said, were the ancestors of the Fremen. Their history, as told by the Fremen, is a story of searching for freedom from persecution and larger forces working to destroy a culture who just won't give up. It's a story common throughout history and fiction.
So what if the federal government scatters your people to the wind? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Your time for revenge is at hand.
But even in their lore, their journey is not accurately known, and the oral legends are almost surely inaccurate. But here's what's known. Most Fremen believe they originated on Porotrin, but this is definitely false. All humans came from Earth. The Sayadina, their religious leaders of the Fremen, preached that they originated from the Nilotic Alaruba, which in Fremen means the place of truth and mystery, but in real life is a reference to the Nile Valley on Earth. The word Nilotic refers to the Nile River, and Alaruba in Arabic literally translates to the Arabic. So it would be translated as the Arabic Nile region. How they actually got to Porotrin is unknown. What is known is that the Great Houses decided that they wanted Porotrin for themselves and started a forced migration of the Zensunni/Fremen, half to Salusa Secundus and half to Bela Tejus. Those who went to Salusa Secundus had a bad time. A lot like they would later face on Arrakis, a huge number died over the 10 generations and 800 years they spent there. The Sardaukar tried to convert them but failed. Eventually, they were transferred to Ischia. Those who went to Bela Tejus had it relatively good, other than the forced migration thing. But after that same 800 years, the Sardaukar also invaded here, and then these Zensunni were once again divided in half and sent to Rossak and Harmonthep, where their culture further developed. Ultimately, all Fremen on Rossak, Harmonthep, and Ischia were once again forced to migrate to Arrakis, the harshest of the harsh places, where they remained until the events of Dune. There, the Bene Gesserit had planted even more manipulation in their religion, preaching how the voice from the outer world, the prophesized Messiah, the Lisan al-Gaib, would come to free them. Which he kind of did, but it was at what cost? What exactly folding space is unclear, and there's really not any hard science behind it, so let's just take a look at how it was depicted in the movies. In the 2000 miniseries, they show a navigator plotting a course. His case of Batwing is probably an homage to how they are described in Dune Messiah, as vaguely humanoid with finned feet and hugely fanned membranous hands, and like a hangover. And then the ship kind of looks like it jumps through a wormhole, but I'm not going to say anything more about the Dune miniseries, except for the costumes are kind of awesome. I got 2 words for you. Samurai firefighter. In David Lynch's 1984 Dune, there's not much I can break down. You just kind of have to experience it, man. David Lynch, what can I say? Look at his little T-Rex arms. And then the ship appears, fading in at its new location. And the 2021 Dune is by far the most, I guess, realistic. The Highlanders resemble sandworms, and space is folded through their core, and a ship can travel instantaneously to another destination. There are essentially 2 options for how this could work. Either there are ships in orbit around every planet and they operate like stargates or portals bridging between 2 ships, but that kind of breaks the canon because it would seem like guild navigators aren't really necessary then. The alternative is that one ship appears in 2 locations at the same time, like apparating at the destination. When folding space, it would just kind of appear, and then a ship could travel through it instantaneously. Does this break the canon? I guess the only other alternative would be that there's like a portal that just kind of appears in space, but that just seems kind of ridiculous. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you like this, like the video and subscribe for more space videos. Thanks to my Patreon supporters. Thanks for watching. Did he just space? What was that?